Welcome back to the Orange Network. One source of truth for your one source of truth. Hopefully that's HubSpot, thus the Orange. We're here today to talk about some gripes, complaints, best practices, and really just pet peeves within HubSpot with our esteemed guest. She's a former HubSpotter. She's wearing the same thing as me today, which is wild. We figured that out pre-show. She's one of the pod leaders at RevPartners as a strategist, and she's one of the nicest human beings in the entire world. Without any further ado, today's guest is Rashida Goryawala. It was shocking when you popped in earlier and are wearing the exact shade of green that I'm wearing. What are the chances of that?
And it was like this was meant to be. We were meant to record today, you know.
Yes, and normally, which is wild, I don't wear green because I'm always in front of a green screen, which is weird. So this must have been serendipity. How are you, Rashida?
I'm doing great. I have nobody at home today, so this is a perfect day to record the show as well. Usually, my kid is sick, misses daycare, my husband is around asking me to keep the volume down during meetings. So I am very relaxed today. The only thing is that you can see all of the toys and everything in the background. I don't have my usual Zoom background.
I literally have a LeBron plushie within reaching distance of me at all times. So no worries there at all. Normally, so this is intended to help people with HubSpot, RevOps in our space. We're a B2B RevOps shop. We have very strong opinions and feelings about how that should be done. But I want to know more so about how Rashida is different, a little bit about your background so people will be able to relate and listen into what advice and tips and tricks you're going to give today.
Absolutely. So, in terms of my background, I don't even know where to start. Just to give everybody a context, I used to be in the jewelry industry. I was born and brought up in Mumbai, in India. And I was in the e commerce industry, pretty much again, doing everything small, fresh industry, wearing all the hats. Then I moved to the US and I realized, okay, I cannot really work in the jewelry industry here because there is hardly any e-commerce. What else can I do? And I discovered technology, which is when I discovered HubSpot. And I'm so glad that I decided to start this tech career in HubSpot because it is, as they say, I literally got a mini MBA in business and how to run a business while just using HubSpot, teaching people how to use HubSpot. I literally developed so many best practices and understanding of, okay, how do you record your business processes in one system and how do you leverage that data? So it was very, I would say, I lucked out and a very exciting journey as well. And now I'm here at RevPartners, not only implementing best practices for my partners, but also for my pod, training strategist, leading strategist. We specialize in PLG, go to market motion, which is product led growth. So naturally, we tend to work with a lot of SaaS companies. And boy, oh boy, it's so exciting because it's the reason I want to be on this podcast also, Rob, is it's so unbelievable to see that people develop SaaS products but still don't know how to sell it or how to record things in another software. And because of course everybody is busy, everybody has their own expertise, and we see completely unexpected things. From, if you are a PLG, you should, this is the basics of running a PLG. How do you not have that set up in HubSpot yet?
I think part of that is just the entrepreneur, founder, like
Mhm.
SaaS kind of leveled the playing field with how fast you can develop something and go to market and try to scale, attempt to scale. But as that's happening, you scale problems along with size, revenue, everything else. So us being able to get in there, I heard yesterday, make it different context, but make it work for you. If it works for you, that's what we need right now. I feel like that's the mindset. And once people start scaling, we have to get back in a lot of times at a foundational level and say that what worked for you to get to where you're at is never going to get you to 20 million, 50 million, 100 million ARR. That's a great place to start. I know you brought some stuff, and one of the first things that we do, this is an audience submission segment. They did not submit this. We just found something interesting, and it's about a RevOps hire. So for today's audience participation or audience submission, we're going to look at a LinkedIn job description for a RevOps hire. Could have done a better transition there, but my producer is not here today. So it's just me. Let's put that onto the screen and look at that. Rashida, I know we talked about it a little bit before the show. It's an interesting concept and an interesting thing to hear a thought process about just a JD for this, I'd say, ecosystem or this role type.
Absolutely. I'll share my screen. Again, I'm here to talk about all of my pet peeves in HubSpot and with RevOps. So this is one of my biggest pet peeves is when you just nail it, Rob. Like when you were saying that there are so many problems that a startup or any founder gets into once they start a business and once they want to scale, they need that specialized expertise. They need somebody dedicated to making sure that their RevOps process and that engine is working correctly. But the challenge is that I think people have just heard of this term RevOps. They find it fascinating. When they feel these struggles, they just want to get, maybe they don't have the budget or they don't prioritize this enough or they don't know what the need is. And they feel like, okay, we need somebody to help us with this. But then when they hire somebody, it's again an order taker. So I'll give you an example of what I mean by that. So this is the role of a revenue operations analyst, right? RevOps analyst. This is a SaaS company. The responsibilities when you look
Can I
at
interrupt you for a second just to say that RevOps analyst feels very redundant? If you're not analyzing things in RevOps, then you're doing it wrong. Anyway, it's just that's a pet peeve, right? RevOps, they're 100% going to be analyzing things. So anyway, continue. That's my first noticeable thing.
right. So exactly. So although it's an analyst, except for this bullet point, everything is a non-analyst role in this one. So yes, it says, okay, analyze the sales and customer data to identify trends, patterns, and opportunities for improvement. Okay, identify that. Okay. But what do you do when you identify that? Am I reporting this to someone? Do I have a seat at the table? I don't think so, because everything else is collaborate with the sales team, this department, the other department, streamline processes, accurate tracking of revenue. So again, building things, work with various tools and platforms to optimize workflow, building things, generate regular reports on key performance indicators, building things for different team again, cross-functional collaboration, it says, on what? To align on processes and enhance reporting. Stay informed about industry best practices, of course. And the great thing is that they're using HubSpot. Extra one star for that one. But the so what I'm trying to say here is these guys don't have a whole RevOps department. If they had a RevOps department where somebody was in charge of the strategy, reporting, making sure that we are looking that everything is working together, then this role is great because then you have somebody dedicated for taking in the team's request and making sure we are optimizing this workflow, creating this automation, making sure we create these properties for data capture and all of that. The problem with this role is that the person they want an order taker. They want somebody who they can come to with all their problems, and then they would figure out solution and roadmap. This is what they're looking for.
I sense a little bit of I don't know, what was that in your voice? The way you say order taker makes me feel like you have something against that term or that concept.
It does, because again, I've worked with a lot of other strategists too, right? This is one of our it is a frustration and a challenge because I understand when, especially being in the consulting space, a lot of partners think like they have hired us to do what they feel is required. So we don't know how to push back and tell them that, hey, this is what you should actually be working on. Which is why being an order taker is literally a waste of money, resources, time, and everything involved. Because RevOps, the beauty of RevOps is we are this one unbiased role in the whole system. We
Yes.
are not the ones selling anything, we're not the one marketing anything. We don't have that bias in us where we can defend, oh, I want to defend marketing metrics, I want to defend sales metrics. We can be this unbiased opinion who has a full overview of what everybody is doing. And when you don't let us be that, and when you don't let us dictate that, hey, okay, these are all your problems, this should be priority one, this should be priority two, this should be priority three, or this is a heavy lift, so let's look at this later. If you don't let us give you that recommendation, and if you come to us with, no, sales needs this first, marketing needs this second, all we'll be doing is we'll be giving you quick wins here and there. It'll give you that dopamine rush.
Yeah, which we can do. I like to play the role of devil's advocate in this situation. And maybe you mentioned if they are on a RevOps team and working with,
Mhm.
so like reporting to the RevOps director or leader, CRO, whatever, and they have a seat and they are involved in strategy, maybe the JD just isn't that good, and that's the intent, right? So this is all intent. Comply autos on their names on here. This is intended to just help and give the other side of the spectrum viewpoint, right? The
Exactly.
other argument I can make is that we do have a bias, but it's to the bottom line, right? Like we are not sales leaning, marketing leaning, product service leaning. We don't know, like, our role is to provide data. Actually, our role is to provide an architecture to have accurate data and visibility.
Mhm.
From there, you can make informed data driven decisions which are biased to revenue generation, but not a department or a person or whatever else. Like, I've tried to roll out a lot of these like slogans, catchphrases, like best friend of the board or whatever. And that's just a play on words to say, like, our bias is to your success, whatever that means. And another interesting thing you mentioned is we can tell. I feel like a lot of these companies know what to do or know the direction, but they don't know when. How important is like organizing a roadmap and the timeliness of some of these wins and initiatives that businesses want?
It is very important because, to give you an example, if I set up sales stages and all the automations without aligning on what lifecycle stages look like, then I will not be able to really comprehend the buyer's journey, and your sales process will not. It'll just be like it'll be a checklist for your sales rep, or
Yep.
just a data dump for your sales rep, because I won't know what the buyer is going through, and the sales agent needs to align to your buyer's journey. So without understanding all the steps that a contact could take with your process, if I just build your sales stages, it's not going to be, as I said, it's not going to be aligned with the buyer. So we need to do things in order. There are prerequisites to a lot of things that we work on. And when you talk about timing, this is the, say for example, if you have a long sales cycle and end of the year is a very critical year for your sales team, they absolutely, their process cannot be disrupted. At that time, I don't want to work on sales processes, right? I
Right.
want to make sure that they're able to do their
Well,
things.
that's context. So this is the hidden thing that I didn't see anything in this JD, and it's usually not, is like a RevOps. The difference in a HubSpot admin or a super admin and a RevOps strategist is the ability to have foresight and put strategy into like behind the tactics.
Mhm.
And some of that is timeliness, but it also, to your point, it's not useful unless there's context. I've heard every single time we've done this, there's been an episode of, in this example, it was a something where the summer months, maybe it was a school, right? They don't have any. That is a very low transactional season for them because everybody's out of school in this particular role and context. That's important in when you decide to revamp a product or a sale or marketing strategy, right? That's exactly the type of stuff we do that doesn't lend itself to being discussed in this JD, right? Which is more building. Also, if you scroll up, there's an interesting kind of parallel here to the earning, like that caught my eye, salary range 90 to 120K. That's within what it would cost to hire four people, like a pod, to execute the same thing for that same time domain. So a lot of what you can speak into, I know you've got other stuff to show, which is going to be awesome. But there's this with the timeliness concept, a lot of what I run into in sales is we need this, we need it yesterday, and we need it to be done like onboarded, right? We need to implement or change this to HubSpot when people are moving in the next 2 months. Number one, not only is that not realistic, but it doesn't speak to the concept that the CRM is a product that evolves over time. And so having an owner in a RevOps team like us, or fractional RevOps, or RevOps as a service, whatever you want to call it, we can all like inject not urgency but value over a shorter period of time, because this is one person. If I'm not they're not hired. This salary range isn't for a team of people, it's for one person. Can you give some context and insight as to the difference between a W2 hire like this and what a RevOps shop would be able to do for you?
Absolutely. There are a lot of examples. I'm just trying to think through what would be best to talk over here. But so one thing, absolutely right. You get one person in this salary range who, again, we all know what this feeling is of being a new hire at a company. We're learning about their businesses, process. There's this whole orientation thing. So you have that nervousness, you have that imposter syndrome. Do I know things? When can I make recommendations? Who can I talk to? How much should I say yes? How much should I push back? It would easily take them at least a month or two just to get themselves acquainted with things, and probably even 3 months, 6 months, I don't know, to even start making those bold recommendations and stuff. So that's one thing, versus when you hire a consultant or something, you get all the expertise in that one package. You get, and again, like RevOps is a very tough role, Rob. It is really tough because You need to know all the updates that HubSpot is rolling out. You need to know the data model. You need to know how to build things, automations, custom coding. There are like so many apps to integrate with to set up your revenue structure. It is too much for one person to own that. Something that we have at Rev Partners that makes it so much easier to implement actual RevOps, at least for me as a strategist, is we have a technologist team. We have a data analyst with us who helps us with all our quarterly reportings and stuff like that. We have a growth marketing team who we can lean into if we realize that top of the funnel is a problem. That is a resource that we can leverage.
Media team.
Media team, exactly. For no, absolutely, it is helpful because of course all of our partners are marketing. They are trying to capture more audience. So just telling their stories, sharing that vision, all of that is important to make that noise and create awareness.
Here's my quick pitch that's like the pro con compare contrast, and you can tell me how spot on this is because I like to turn a phrase. W2 versus RP. Number one, like the onboarding ramp time is different. Just at a new company, right? In sale, all roles are different, but you're gonna be given 2 or 3 months to like, to your point, learn the company, learn the business, immerse yourself. We're delivering quick wins in about a month, right? With our, there's a very deep diagnostic revenue engine diagnostic process with us to where we're onboarded quicker and delivering value. Is that not true anymore?
No, it's definitely not true. It doesn't take a month. It takes 1 week.
So even faster than, so I'm wrong and gladly I am. But the point is, yes, the point is that we're faster. A W2 might take a little bit longer. The cost relatively the same per unit, but again, what you're getting, this is one person versus a team of four within the same ballpark. Another thing that's not talked about that I would pitch is like, you can fire us if we're not successful. That, I don't think that's happened very often. Normally our customers graduate instead of churn, but with a W2 might, maybe that's messier. There seems like more of a commitment. And then across every, I would say, industry, we have expertise for these product roadmaps and rollouts. We've done it a lot, like combined experience. Even if this person has, I think somewhere I saw in there 10 years experience collectively, what are we, 50, 60 years of experience within this as a pod? Is that, how
Yeah.
would this do if you were, if I was pitching to you for the benefits, advantages?
This would do great. I would also add, and this has actually helped a lot of our partners, Rob, and I'm not even kidding how beneficial this is for them. Because as an internal hire, you want to have good relations with everyone so that you cover your bases and you're not in trouble. We also at Rev Partners, we pride ourselves for having an opinion, having a very strong one, making sure we are proactive and not reactive. And we set those expectations not only in the sales process but also from day one. We keep talking about it every week that, guys, we have 100% stewardship. And because of that, we have the ability to even call up the CEO, the CTO. You just name the person, VP, director. We are able to come in as a third party consultant with all of this experience and best practices and documentation, pros, cons, proofs, everything you need to come in and tell and convince someone that, hey, this is what you need to do. These are, or give you these two options, versus an internal hire needs to go through so many loopholes. Hey, can I have 30 minutes for you with you to go through X, Y, and Z? No, we're busy. We don't have, that's not a problem that we run into because we have a roadmap. 3 weeks down the line, we need to have this meeting. We need these many stakeholders involved, and then that's done. There's hardly ever any friction. So it's so much more easier for us to drive to decisions.
I would like to somehow leverage this in almost a debate where you argue against somebody that's hell bent on just hiring that the W2, but that's for another time. I know that time is a consideration at this point, and I would be insane if I didn't let you show some of what you were going to bring in, which is
Yeah.
before, after, good example, bad example of some of what we do in HubSpot. This is all great for JD, but what does it look like from your perspective behind the scenes, like actually within a HubSpot portal? We're going to do that. And I'm deciding to call this clip, "This Will Blow Your Mind." We're going to kick it back over to your screen and we're going to go through this as quickly as you would like to so that we can see some of, here it is right here. So what are we looking at? And yeah, launch into it.
Okay, perfect. So what you're looking at right now is the bare minimum. Like I was saying, like we can start driving value and giving recommendations right from day one. This is something that we do right after our kickoff call with any partner. We deploy this dashboard. It's called Revenue Engine Diagnostic Benchmarking Dashboard. Again, some backstory. We think of your business as this revenue business needs to have this revenue engine that drives your business forward, generates revenue, blah blah blah, all of that. Okay, which is why this is your engine diagnostic. We are coming in and diagnosing what's happening in your HubSpot instance right now. Every single partner that we see, like literally, I think like 99% of them have this problem. What you're looking at is how many contacts were created, broken down by source, and what is this brown that you see? Offline sources.
Yep.
So they don't have any visibility into where exactly their contacts are coming from, what channels are working, what are not working. So this is one. Again, this is inconsistent MQLs, but we can have a discussion. Maybe they're a list import, whatever it is. The other so this dashboard gives us a lot of context into what's happening with contacts, what are they doing with lead status. As you can see, so many lead statuses, definitely a problem. This is a best way for marketing to sorry sales to give feedback to marketing on all of their leads, and for also for sales to track their leads. But this definitely looks like a mess. So this absolutely a great example for one of my pet peeves in HubSpot. Messy lead statuses not adopted. I don't think anybody has clarity on what they're doing, and people just have their own processes, which is good for day to day but horrible for reporting. Again, we can go through a lot of this. I don't want to go into any deal data right now, but just yeah.
This is another one where just without even the whole funny part is I can't see very well, which I can't, but I don't have to be able to read this to know that even on qualified deals, right, with 13 different lead statuses and that many, there's that like difference in data. There's something wrong without even having to know anything about what it's saying. Something is amiss here. You should not have 37,000 of one kind in a bucket
Yeah,
and 15,212. Even as you zoomed out, this was a problem I've seen in a recent episode, right? If you go down, the number of SQLs exceeds the number of MQLs in this lifecycle stage conversion
yeah,
and opportunity. Just looking at that, there's something pretty significantly amiss.
exactly. And so exactly, this is so what we try to do is just make it very plain obvious for anybody looking at these dashboards. Yes, this is a problem. And so many other things like SQL or opportunity 97% conversion. There's definitely a misalignment in
That's like a world record, right? If that was true.
exactly, yeah. So that is one of my pet peeves. The other major one, and the one where we have the most friction, I would not say most friction, but where we have to tread lightly, because this is the most favorite team of the CEO or
Right.
the engine, is the sales pipeline. You can see my screen, correct?
Yes. Yeah, I
Okay.
can see the screen. I was making a note. You've made me make a couple notes all over here about things that I've learned during the call. So that's good. I'm not distracted. I'm learning.
Okay, perfect. So this pipeline, so again, this is a PLG. So this business is interesting because they're PLG as well as two stage. So product led growth, as well as they have an SDR and AE motion for this particular product. They have a separate PLG too. So let's focus on this pipeline. Because they have these two motions, the reps are a little confused about how to track when this situation happens, how to track when this situation happens. And they themselves came up with this pipeline. Okay, interested, scheduling demo, connected demo. This is one of my biggest pet peeves, again, in the sales process specifically, because these are sales activities or like just a status. This is not a stage.
Yep.
Scheduling up, you can report on activity whether somebody has just scheduled or connected based on your meeting reports, right? Your meeting activity analysis, you can just do that. And meeting outcomes, there are different ways of doing this in HubSpot. It doesn't have to be on the pipeline. You're duplicating your effort right now, correct? Because they're a PLG, they have trialing, which is fine. Now, look at this one, gone cold. This is a perfect example of a holding stage where deals just come in, start living there. Nobody does anything about them. They live here for eternity and they die here then eventually. So this is again a pet peeve. Please, let's not have any holding stages on your sales pipeline. Convinced of value, verbal commitment. Again, this is repetitive as well. If you think they're convinced of value and they've given you their verbal commitment, like how do you know they're convinced of value? If they've given you a verbal commitment or they've signed on, if they've purchased your product. So it either needs to be in closed one or verbal commitment. You don't need another whole entire stage here. Am I making sense for so far? Agreed, agree.
I would say, what's the map? Yes, these are statuses, and these are almost like subsets within different stages, right? So in stage 4, for us,
Mhm.
there's like a commit, go, no go stage where that's not, it's intended to be action. So if they've gone cold, you need to either close them out or do some sort of activity. These are more
Mhm.
activities and statuses rather than things that would give insight.
Yep.
And on that reporting, to your point, if 373 versus all these other, like the majority of our, you're telling me the majority of our pipeline has gone cold. That's not good, right? So even at a top level, there's not this access to insights or specificity that helps you fix it. We don't want that amount of being going cold. So that's what you're trying. I'm hoping you're going to show me an after, or like what it should look like in a minute. But
Yes.
yeah, this makes a ton of sense.
Okay, perfect. I won't show you exacts of what it's going to look like, but I'll just show you the process of how we go about this. So, as just by looking at this pipeline, we could have this discussion and align on, okay, yes, this is a problem. This is not best practice. Now, the challenge is again, when you rebuild sales pipeline, you have to rebuild the whole sales process. You have to make sure the reps understand what they're looking at, how they're supposed to, what does the future world look like, and where do they record their stuff, and all of that. So, step one is again, as I was saying earlier, is align on the customer's journey. How are the customers reaching out? And this is just one part of it, just the PLG, like form submission part of it. But I just wanted to give you an example of how we think about this. You need to think about, okay, what is the customer doing? They first request to book a demo, they get assigned to sales. If the contract is fine, they create a deal, then they have a discovery call. Are they qualified? If yes, then they book a demo to show them the product. Did they attend the demo? Did they not attend the demo? Were they qualified? Then it goes to go, no go. This is where it's okay. Now you need approval from X, Y, and Z, making sure everybody's aligned. What else do you need? And then you have a verbal commit, and then you move it to closed one. That
Within this too, I assume this is obviously like the higher level overview, but there's process rules or SLAs within that. So in go, no go, you cannot move it to the next stage or back. I know another pet peeve is like moving, but you cannot do that until A, B, and C have been done. And then making it easier for reps to adopt, which is we built an automation that'll ping you and say it's been whatever 2 days. Here's a template like that. Within each one of these stages, there's things that we built out to help not only adopt but be able to drive decision and drive revenue. What it boils down to, correct?
Exactly, yes. So we are currently going through this exercise with this partner right now. So that's what we do. Then once we align on, okay, this is what the journey needs to look like, then we break this down into actual buyer's journey milestones. Like they have a business issue, they're evaluating needs. The rep and the prospect, they've aligned on these needs. They know what's happening, and everybody's trying to figure out what can we do to move this forward. Then they select a vendor because, of course, there's always competition. When they realize value, they're at closed one or they can be closed lost. And we brainstorm all of this, like what properties do you need, what do you want to name your stages, what is their forecasting. We go through all of that. And to give you an example, this is just, again, this is not a solution for this PLG, but just wanted to show you what a good pipeline looks like.
Yes.
You have
And
bookends. Yeah, sorry, go
I
for it.
think the key thing that you didn't necessarily call out, and it's a good transition, and I know we're close to time also, but with this is not us coming in, or I would say most, like whether it's RP or not, like this is useful for to serve as like the third party non-biased type of person, but it is not us doing everything, and it's not the partner not being involved either. Can you speak a little bit to the white glove? It is a collaboration 100%. Nobody understands your business better than you or the org, but they're obviously with the data points you mentioned, there's some ways that we can immediately improve it and build some more architecture to help that. So it's very much a collaborative effort. You mentioned the brainstorming, that's between you and the decision makers, like stakeholders on the call. So it's not us
Mhm.
eliminating, wiping out everything and starting from zero. It's very much a tell us about this, give us context on this so that we can help. Is that help?
Exactly.
Okay.
That's exactly it. So we go through this revenue mapping exercise where we first map out this customer journey. This is a very condensed version of it. The actual rev map is a whole bow tie and whatnot. So exactly, it is a collaboration, but we have to make sure that we do our due diligence and we're not just like asking you for all your thoughts, right? So step one is us going in, analyzing, getting all the problems, making sure we understand the whole customer journey. Then we give, of course, like this is a good scenario, this is like a good example that we need to look up to. Right now, let's customize it for our needs, and then we go through this exercise. So again, we have all our recommendations on here, like this property needs to be there, this needs to be an entry gate requirement, this is mandatory, this is optional to fill. We go through that, and then we have a discussion. We actually, for sales specifically, we go through reverse demos too. We want to meet with reps, We look at what you guys are doing on a day-to-day basis to again understand what you're doing. Then we come up with a recommendation. And then, so this is, once we do all of this is where we have a discussion, and the leadership then they fill us in on all the gaps, saying that okay, this is what the rep needs to see, this is what I need to see,
Yes.
these are the edge cases that we've seen, have you accounted for those? And that's when then we can come up with a solid, I would say, plan. And
Love that point. Yeah, most of the time leadership is not necessarily in the trenches. I know it's different based on size, scale. Like our CEO ran our sales for a long time and then moved from founder led to sales led. But the distinction is what leadership, C-suite, whatever needs to see and have access to is different, and their use case, how they're using the tools, HubSpot primarily, but how they're using that differs. So
mm,
without talking to them and how it's being used now, the reps and the leadership, there's really not a solution that speaks to both at all.
yep. And it also depends on your, as you said, your team size. If you have, if there's leadership and there are lots of teams doing different processes and things, we need to talk to different people and then the leadership, just to get the whole holistic view. But yeah, I think you're absolutely right, collaboration and all of that is absolutely essential. We don't want to be order takers, but we also don't want to be dictators. This things.
That might be my favorite quote of the whole season of episodes so far. We're close to out of time. There's probably an hour or 2 hours the whole day we could spend talking on this with how much. Where can people find you, or what do you? Who do you want to shout out? Normally we end these with like, where can we find Rashida? But any shout outs, any places to follow you, connect with you on LinkedIn, for example?
Yes, so LinkedIn definitely. I'm there on all the social media platforms, but LinkedIn is my RevOps shop where I talk about RevOps all the time. So yes, again, my name Rashida, LinkedIn, and Rashida Goryawala. You'll be able to find me there. I'm also coming at Inbound, so if any of you are coming there, that'll be great. We, and the most exciting thing actually is that at Inbound, RevPartners is offering HubSpot audits. So if you're interested in seeing, we spoke about all of these pet peeves and all of that. So if you want to get my opinion or one of my colleagues' opinion, there's going to be Shadab, who's an excellent expert. There's going to be Frank, who's a solutions architect, has audited, I don't know, like 90 plus instances. I don't even
A
know the
lot.
anymore. Yeah.
Yeah,
So you'll be able to meet us. There'll be Will. Again, like there'll be so many strategists out there. Our whole team will be there. We would love to get to just connect with people, share our insights. And this is going to be like just free of cost. So added bonus for you. So might as well get our opinions. We have a lot of them.
it's free. If you're a HubSpot rep bringing a prospect, we can help on site, which is different. Rashida is a lot less frozen in person, which I've noticed, so that's good.
Sorry
So
for that.
it's fine. Look, stay awesome. Keep doing it big. Rashida, thank you so much for coming to join us. And I'll see you later today, but we'll all see you at Inbound. Till next time.
Thank you so much for having me, Rob.
You're going to come back. So I'll see you again soon.